Hello and welcome back to Jacob's Toys. Please do like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel. Today we are taking a look at the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer that dropped last night, and obviously there are potential spoilers ahead, but obviously these are all just theories based on what we've seen. So from what I can tell, it is leaning heavily into two of the comic books. That is the Happy Birthday storyline and the One More Day storyline also. If you're not familiar with these stories, I fully recommend you take a look because they are awesome. So there are lots of scenes in the trailer that look to be the aftermath of the previous Spider-Man film, where obviously his identity was revealed and the crowd just go a bit mental. You can see there West 33rd Street, which is right next to Pennsylvania Station, which is where he came up on the screen like so. You also see the split screen of the face and the mask, which is quite reminiscent to the comics. You can see here Flash with the comic book accurate blonde hair, which is a nice touch. You can also see this lawyer type character, which people are speculating is Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, better known of course as Daredevil. So let's take a look at the suits. We get a glimpse of this black suit that we have of course seen thanks to pre-orders for the toys like Hot Toys and Marvel Legends. We also see the upgraded Iron Spider suit with slight changes, which we've also seen because of the toy lines. Doctor Strange is obviously heavily involved as well, so let's take a look at him. We see him here in his casual clothes with just his cloak on and his mug of coffee, just cleaning up the sanctum. We also see Wong disappear into an unknown location, but if we take a bit of a closer look, it definitely could pass as a location such as those in Shang-Chi. We also see Strange here without the Time Stone, and the Eye of Agamotto obviously looking a little bit empty. We also see Strange in what looks to be a black suit, which is reminiscent of some of his comic book appearances, which could be a nice touch. It would be very cool to see him in an alternate suit. We also see him here conducting the spell with Peter, which looks to be the reason why the multiverse is opened in the first place in this particular storyline. And you can see Doctor Strange's familiar outfit here. Although you can't really tell whereabouts this is, you did see them going down some stairs, so we assume that it's in some kind of basement level of the sanctum. You see here the multiverse opening up, which does look reminiscent of what we saw in Loki and also in the What If stories, with the colour palette that they've used of purples, oranges, blues, etc. Something I do think is quite interesting about this is you can see he hasn't got his cloak with him, so he is very accurate to how he looked in the comic books in the black suit, or this may not be the actual Strange that we're familiar with, and indeed something or someone else. Now this is the point where I do just want to reiterate the spoiler warning, just because I want to talk a little bit about the Happy Birthday storyline and also the One More Day storyline. Now in One More Day storyline, May actually gets killed, and we don't actually see Aunt May feature that much in the trailer, so we may be leaning towards this particular story. Also during the One More Day storyline, MJ and Peter never actually get together. And one of the most memorable bits of the trailer is Peter obviously saying to Doctor Strange that he didn't want MJ to forget who he was or what they had been through. Now there are two characters in these storylines that do feature that we haven't necessarily seen so far in the Spider-Man storyline. One of them is Dormammu and one of them is Mephisto. Now it's actually Dormammu that conducts the spell, and again it is Peter that interrupts the spell. Now during that particular spell, what Peter does see is he sees a past and a future version of himself, which is interesting because obviously Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both rumoured to be in this movie as well, and then they could therefore then lean in towards the Happy Birthday storyline, and instead of seeing a past and a future version of himself, he could just actually see two versions of himself. Although I think it'd be very awesome to see Tobey Maguire in that leather jacket look from that particular Spider-Man storyline where he's from the future. Now I'm not going to go into too much more detail about these particular storylines, but one thing I will say is that the Happy Birthday comic book and the storyline in that could definitely lead into what we know so far about Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness. So I fully suggest you definitely go and pick that copy up and have a read and make up your own mind. So anyway, back to the trailer. There is a large portion of this trailer that focuses on what looks to be Doctor Strange chasing after Spider-Man, and we get treated to some really nice visuals that reminiscent to the Doctor Strange movie itself, with the city folding in on itself, and of course we also see him pushing out the astral version of Peter Parker from the Spider-Man body, which we've seen before with the Hulk and the Ancient One, and obviously the Ancient One and Doctor Strange, so that's really nice. But I'll come back to this particular image towards the end of the video with my theories on what this is all about. So getting into what I think is the most exciting part of this trailer, it's the villains. So first up we see the electric yellow light bolts here, which of course belong to Electro, and Jamie Foxx has confirmed that he is returning for this movie, although he has said his costume is different. We then again see it a little bit later here, and we see what looks to be a large pile of sand taking shape as well, but it could just be a reaction from the explosion. Now, as there is lots of talk of the Sinister Six being in this movie, we therefore have our first two members in the form of Electro and Sandman. The next, and probably the most interesting to me, is this particular part of the trailer where we see some kind of large animal type beast behind what looks to be a cage banging on the glass when Peter comes near it. Now, this has been said to be the lizard, and if I just enhance this visual a little bit, it's still really not that clear to see what's there, but you can definitely see that there is something lurking there in the background. So then the lizard would make 3 of the 6. Moving on to the next one, we have, of course, the pumpkin bomb from Green Goblin and William Dafoe's obviously distinctive cackle as that rolls forward as well. What's also interesting to note is if you look at the floor where this bomb lands, where it's like, it looks like it's on a bridge, it's also the same as the bridge that we see Dr. Octopus appear on shortly after. But that is 100% undeniably Green Goblin's pumpkin bomb. Which brings us nicely lastly to Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus. Now obviously he has not kept it quiet that he is involved in this film, and it was great to hear him say that distinctive "Hello Peter" kind of line in the Dr. Octopus voice. I'm really excited to see him back, and that obviously brings our total to 5. So we have Dr. Octopus, Goblin, Sandman, Electro and potentially the Lizard, leaving one space open. Now we've seen Mysterio and we've seen Vulture, and also we've seen the Rhino, we've seen Venom, we've seen a handful of different villains across the Spider-Man franchise. However, my personal thoughts is that they're saving this last and 6th space for somebody quite impressive that will make a big entrance. Potentially could be Mysterio, because obviously we're expecting him to be dead because of the previous film, but I think whoever this 6th member is going to be, it's going to be somebody that's going to be a definite crowd pleasing moment in the film. I want to just come back to this Doctor Strange outfit. I'm not 100% sure that he's a good guy in this particular part, so potentially another villain there as well. That would be pretty cool. Coming back to this image once again, as I said earlier, you can see in Spider-Man's hand that he's holding some kind of cubed object there. Now, it has been said that these particular villains that we are going to see are not going to be the villains that we are familiar with from the previous films. They are in fact going to be kind of what if or multiverse versions of themselves. So they are the villains that we know, so it is Dr. Octopus, but it's not necessarily the Dr. Octopus that we've seen previously in the last film, which I think is quite interesting. The other thing that has been mentioned as well is that these particular versions of the villains have been captured by someone like Doctor Strange and are being kept captive, and it's actually Peter that lets them out because he feels some kind of sympathy for them, he feels sorry for them, and that this particular box is potentially the key to that. So therefore bringing on the Sinister Six onto himself in a true Peter Parker kind of fashion, thinking that he's doing the best thing, and in fact actually making things a lot worse for himself and some of the others around him. All in all though, they are my thoughts and feelings around that initial first trailer, and I cannot wait to see a second one come out as well. It's only September now and the film itself comes out before Christmas, so we don't have long to wait, and hopefully we do get some kind of second trailer before that film hits the theatres. One last thing before I do sign off, I have made it quite clear in the podcast that I do, the Geek Week in Review with Super Sorrel, that I would love to see Miles Morales also appear in this film. So the fact that they put emphasis on this particular scene here with what potentially could be Miles Morales' mother actually makes me very excited. So here's my fingers crossed, let's just throw another Spider-Man in the mix, and potentially one that could carry the MCU and the Spider-Verse forward even further. That's my thoughts on the trailer. Thank you very much for listening. Please do like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Any and all support is very much appreciated. I'll catch you next time.